Get ready for the Taranto Sail Grand Prix. Japan and USA are locked at the top of the leaderboard looking to settle their bad blood. The final 3 spots are still up for grabs. Anything can happen.
Okay, stand by, dive. 3, 2, 1. Okay, go forward. Here we go. Wiggle on! Hey, keep going. Come on! Hurry up, boys, come on. I love this show.
Welcome to Taranto, Italy, and day 2 of the Italian Sail Grand Prix. Situated on the southern coast, this port city is now the backdrop for sailing's most prestigious series. Today's schedule, 2 full fleet races with 8 international teams trying to earn enough points to make this afternoon's finale, which will be a 3-boat final, where only the top point earners compete in a winner-takes-all format. Alongside Stevie Morris and Freddie Carr and Allie Vance, I'm Todd Harris. Taranto's residents have lined the seawall of the scenic municipality, hoping to catch a glimpse of their favorite team racing the high-performance F-50s in a stadium-like setting on the picturesque Mediterranean Sea. After 1 day and 3 races yesterday, here's what the leaderboard shows us. The United States and Japan are tied for the lead with 21 points. Spain sits in 3rd with 17, while France holds 4th and 13 points. New Zealand, Great Britain, Denmark, and the defending champions Australia represent the bottom 4. Day 1 was an exceptional demonstration of technical sailing and cutting-edge foiling in light wind. Here are the highlights from the first 3 races.
The first day of racing here in Taranto did not disappoint, and it was all about staying on the foils and finding the best wind. All teams were down to 3 crew, minimising the weight to maximise the flight time.
And there we go on the gun, and it's all about the speed here now. Here we go, it's a drag race.
Japan and USA continue their battle by trading places race after race.
You know, we made a few errors in that first race. That jibe at Mark 1 put us back into the fleet, but to sail back into the front of the fleet was really pleasing for us.
No, not again, as they come close together like they did in Bermuda, and this time the USA bears away.
With Jimmy Spittle ending the day on top of the leaderboard, joint on points with Japan.
And Jimmy Spittle has gone from 3rd back into 1st place as he squeezes in between Japan and New Zealand. What a move by Spithill.
It was Rome's called attack there, and that was the race-winning move, so yeah, full credit to Rome.
Spain, France and Great Britain had their moments at the front of the pack, but it was Spain's 2nd in race 2 that landed them on the final podium spot.
What a performance by Phil Robertson and his crew as they take 2nd.
Now in 3rd, we have to defend this position 2 races more tomorrow and make sure we're in the final.
New Zealand's interim skipper Arno Sarufagas found his form in race 1. Not a bad performance with 3 crew on your opening race. For Australia, gear failure prevented them from challenging at the front of the fleet.
That's a big blow for Slingsby. They just sat in the water.
And Denmark showed us how coming off the foils stops you dead.
Look, the boat leaps up out of the water. With 40 seconds to go, this is not a good position to be in for the Danish Rockwall crew.
The city of Taranto showed up in force and will be ready for the final showdown.
Well, a great day yesterday, and the crowds are ready and waiting for more of the same today. The locals certainly embracing this event. Out on the water, over 900 spectator boats line the racing area. That's a new record for a SailGP event anywhere in the world. Now, the weather today, we have more wind than yesterday, around 17 kilometres an hour with some stronger gusts. I'm on the seawall, I'm about 200 metres from the racecourse, and there is significant cloud cover today, which that might prevent the strong sea breeze from building. At the moment, though, perfect foiling conditions, and we've got the normal 5 crew members on the boat. Yesterday, in the lighter conditions, for the first time in the history of SailGP, the boats raced with the bare minimum, just 3 people on board. It took multitasking to a new level. This is the first time ever in SailGP history that these boats have raced competitively with so few crew on board. These F50s notoriously tricky to sail with 5 people, let alone 3.
The whole trick about sailing with 3 people is if it's very light winds, we want to lower the weight of the boat so it goes flying earlier. If we don't have enough breeze to fly with 5, that's the first go-to.
Here we go, one more tack, outrage, steering, flying, and doing the wing.
We made the decision to keep Timmy on the boat as a grinder because we thought trimming the wing was really important in these light winds. So not only are you doing it with the twists and the hydraulics, but we can play the sheet as if we would normally.
My wing, going forward.
You lose your 2 grinders when you go 3 down, and your flight controller has to do a little bit of grinding every now and then as well, just to get the wing back up.
Yeah, small one.
Basically everyone's jobs just become a lot more intense and you get a lot more responsibility on board.
Rome Kirby has got to lean forwards to grind because his tether won't let him get to the pedestal.
Really, it requires, the 3 of us on board to take on the roles of the grinders on board, and they do quite a lot through the manoeuvres and in a straight line, so it requires a lot of juggling of their roles as well as our normal roles. Really emphasises the teamwork on the boat,
Can they stick a foiling tack with 3 people? That would be a skill. I'm going to give them that, I think.
Yep. Well, after disaster in Bermuda, the Pitbull has come out swinging. 1-4-1 shows that the back 3 of Spittle, Campbell, James and Kirby are starting to gel. There are no prizes awarded until the final finish line though, so they have today to prove that they are real challengers and here to stay.
The Japanese tied at the top of the leaderboard with the Americans. 3 results in the top 3 yesterday. They started well, they kept their tactics simple and they looked fast in the light. Big news is today, with 5 on board, Bruni, the Italian sailing legend, step back on, and that will give the massive crowds here in Taranto a team to cheer for.
The young guns from Spain are right where they want to be. Phil Robertson is proving to be the #1 hired gun in the fleet. But the young rock stars from the Olympic sailing scene, Trittle and Botin, will need to show their medal-winning talent to ensure they are racing in the all-important final.
The French will be looking to make their 2nd final in a row. Their energy on board the boat yesterday seemed to be a little bit fuzzy. Every time we jumped on board, there was fiery communication between Britt McMillan and Frenchman Besson. But maybe that's what works best for them, and they seem to be going all right so far in 4th place.
It was a baptism of fire for Paul Goodison, who's replacing Ben Ainsley here in Taranto. A 6.36 for the British is not where they're used to finishing. I'm sure they'll be happy to get their big grinders back on the boat today. It's not all over till it's over, and don't forget their comeback in Bermuda, but they will need to be perfect today.
New boy to the helm, Sarafagist opened his account well yesterday in race 1 with a 3rd place. But that's as good as it got for the Kiwis. They followed that up with an 8th and a 5th. 2 key members on board has got to be Andy Maloney and Josh Jr., Finn World Champions. They have got a great racing pedigree together, winning the last 2 America's Cups.
Pressure, pressure, pressure. They sit in 7th here in Taranto, and that's just not good enough. So far this season, their best race result is 5th. Sehested and Johnson need a momentum shift, and they need it fast. There is nowhere to hide when amongst the world's best sailors, but one good race could turn it all around.
The Australians, by far the worst day for the reigning champs in all of their SailGP career. They had limited training time before race 1 and then a breakdown in race 1, but they couldn't rescue it with race 2 and race 3. They really need a rescue job on this regatta, otherwise Taranto could go down as the black mark on season 2 scorecard. Stevie, let's have a look at the race course for today.
Great to be back on the helicopter up above the stadium course here in Taranto, and the start will be crucial today. Foiling on the line as that gun goes. The fastest leg of the course to Mark 1, where the boats will turn downwind. They have to sail angles to keep the apparent wind speed high and the boats flying fast. Tactical opportunity at gate number 2, where they can choose to turn right or left. The upwind leg is only able to sail at angles of about 45 degrees to the wind, as sailboats just won't sail into the wind. The crews are looking for the best wind, and that will vary across the racecourse. Through gate 3, again, the boats turn downwind, and the crews are looking for the strongest wind and the shortest course to find the best way down to gate number 4. Minimum manoeuvres will be crucial today. Light winds at gate 4 could make this a crucial moment in the race as the crews look for their final upwind opportunity and the last chance to pick up places. Splitting left and right, it will be tactics, including staying clear of other boats and finding more wind, that will find the leaders reaching gate 5. And then it's another final dash to the finish. No tactics, just raw speed.
So we are almost set to go with race number 4 here in Taranto, day 2 of the Italy Sail Grand Prix, and it has been a spectacular stay thus far. The fans have turned out in force to see the world's best compete here on the Mediterranean. Balmy conditions, as Ali reported. The wind is up just a little bit, so these conditions really, we would have to dub them as moderate, near perfect sailing conditions. We've seen the light wind, we saw the heavy wind that we saw in Bermuda, which was very difficult. So Freddie, I guess I'd have to ask you, what do you prefer? Are these the conditions that you've been hoping for?
These are the conditions that I've been hoping for. For me, Todd, this is the no excuses day. We saw them rodeoing around Bermuda in big breeze. Yesterday they were learning to sail with 3 people in light breeze. Right now we are in the F50 sweet spot. This is the guy's bread and butter. There's absolutely no excuse for anything but a perfect performance from these crews.
Wow.
And I think it's a real leveler out there today. There's under 2 minutes until the start, and make no bones about it, the start will be absolutely crucial. If you can be in the lead at Mark 1, you have full choice of everything you can do, an open playing field. If you're at the back, you're already on to plan B and trying to find the second best option, which is just never going to be a good option.
So under 90 seconds to go, you cannot cross that line leaving the start box until the clock hits 0. You'll see the line go white. To Freddie's point, it's so good to have that helicopter back in this view in this stadium setting, Stevie, as we can get a look. Now, the key is not crossing that line too early, because a penalty will pretty much sink your chances.
From looking at the overhead graphic there doesn't seem to be much advantage to starting at the top or the bottom of the line. I think the winner of the start today will be as simple as the fastest boat as close to the line when the gun goes.
You hear all the pre-race chatter going on as we are now 45 seconds away from race 4, which will be followed by race 5. After that, only the top 3 point getters will be in the final race of the day.
Everyone really close to the start with just 30 seconds to go, and they're all close to the bottom of the screen, what we'd call the top of the start line here. The Kiwis are very early. I think they're too early, but now who can find space? I like where Goodison has got the British boat. Outrage on Japan though, good control, opportunity to shut the French out at the top of the line here, and now can Slingsby get through? The Spanish, Spithill, they're out the back. They're behind off this start line, but it looks to me like Besson, he's trickling in. Has he timed it right at this top end of the line? Will there be a gap? Could be disaster for the French. No room. Green there. Clear start. And New Zealand, Sarafagis. Wow, he was so aggressive. Here go the New Zealand crew.
Wow, what a lockout job there by the Kiwis. Shut the door on the French. We thought they were early. They were perfectly on time. Everyone else was late. What are you looking at now, Stevie, for the Kiwis going into Mark 1?
It's really dropped off this wind, Fred. We're hearing now, that's Maloney. He's talking about lifting the boat out of the water. They're trying to build speed here, Fred. It's really hard to build.
This is the umpires. Penalty us.
The umpire's trying to figure out.
Penalty Japan, relative Australia. Ooh. 2 penalties.
Nathan clearly didn't have room on the start line either there. He's going to have to drop back behind the Australian crew. This might not be too costly for Japan.
And amazingly there, the Kiwis are the only boats foiling on the whole fleet. The rich are getting richer into Mark 1 as everyone else is just on one hull.
Freddie, when you're out in front, you have clear wind, and you need that clear wind to get you up and foiling. Huge, huge lead for the Kiwis. Which boats are next on the foils? Spithill somehow found his way through below the fleet, but it's Slingsby on the foils, and Japan. Outeridge pops the boat onto the foils. These boats can now start charging. It's the French and the Spanish, 3rd and 4th before today in the overall standings. They're at the back of the pack. What a start to the race.
What a start indeed as New Zealand gets offensive and defensive, protecting that line, guys, as we get a chance to go back and see New Zealand's play again. That was amazing, the way they blocked the French out, left them nowhere to go, and Billy Basson having to pull off to the right-hand side and basically do a U-turn.
Here we are, back on the replay. We're on board the front here of the Kiwi boat. The boats to the left of the screen, the Japanese, they can't squeeze in. There's no room. The mark is just off to the left of the screen. There it is. He forced Besson out. Besson had to bail at the last minute. He's not entitled to room. Aggressive, but brilliant. Back on board the French now. He's trying to thread the needle between that red mark and the black Kiwi boat there. Here isn't entitled to room. There isn't room, and he's out the way there. And a little bit of French excitement early in the roof. Disaster.
So back to live racing action here in race number 4. It is New Zealand out in front. What a great job by Arno Saurafagis filling in for Pete Burling, and New Zealand has the lead, 174 meters ahead of Australia. USA sitting in 3rd. For Australia, guys, they are still not out of it, but they're going to need to win both races 4 and 5 and to hope for a little help to get into that final race of the day.
And they're jibing here for a right turn. We've seen better pressure on the right-hand side, but I think there was a huge shift on that downwind.
Oh, they get a bit high in the jibe there. They've flown the boat too high. They're off the foils. This is going to cost them a lot of distance. 2 hulls in the water. Bad manoeuvre for this inexperienced crew. That's going to be costly. And Slingsby, that's more where we're used to seeing him. But the battle in the back of the pack, this is going to be closing up with the Kiwi crew as they approach gate number 2.
That looked like a rudder lift problem for me there. Not only do we fly off the main foils, but you fly off the T-foils on the back, the rudders that steer the boat, and they just weren't getting the lift of the boat, the back of the boat, to keep the boat in the air.
So here comes Australia sitting in 2nd place, the USA sitting in 3rd. Remember, the USA and Japan are leading right now with 21 points each. So, guys, if the USA has a top 3 finish, they've all but secured a spot in that final.
Done a great job, Jimmy Spitzel, of getting back in 2nd place for Tom Slingsby. Well, he really needs to win this race and see France and Spain at the back of the fleet to give himself a chance of making the final. It's very, very unlikely Australia can make it, but at the moment, this is perhaps his best chance with Besson and Robertson at the back of the pack.
There's nice pressure on the left corner, huh?
So the Kiwis right now flying the hole after splashing down with both into the water, coming off the foils. Their lead is dropping quickly.
Here we go, on board the Kiwi boat. Let's see what happens here. They set up for the jibe. Jason Saunders crossing the boat there. Foil goes in, and here we go. They turn, and then look in that back right-hand corner. Look at that rudder pop out, Fred. He spotted it really well. The rudder pops out. There's air around the rudder. These things don't work in the air. They're designed to fly in the water, and the foil just lets go. The boat crashes down. 2 hulls in the water, really, really slow. But look, this wind has dropped, and Freddie, I think what's really interesting, they've spent 40 minutes warming up in a lot more wind than this. Looks like a lot of the teams are struggling to adapt to the change.
Yeah, and they've got 5 crew on board today, so they've got that extra 100, 200 kilos, should I say, on board. So it's really hard, and that's why we're seeing crew on the Australians down on the leeward side of the boat. It's not about foiling right now, it's about lifting the windward hull.
Look at that, 8.5 kilometers an hour right now of wind, where they were practicing, to your point, Stevie, they were closer to 15 to 18.
Right, look at the guys that head out the boat, and they're looking for wind there. That's Kyle Langford on the wing. He's going to really need to have a bit of feel today. He needs to look at that wind, see how it's working. Let's find out with Ali on the water. Has this wind dropped as much as we think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's much lower than forecast. And as you mentioned, it dropped just as we started the race, really 30 seconds before that start. We saw then it falling off those foils, absolutely crucifying for the teams. And it becomes all the more important that the crew on board can spot any extra bits of breeze across the racetrack. They'll be looking at the water and really trying to find as much wind out there as possible.
Well, Australia doing exactly what they have to do. Remember, they were sitting at the bottom of the standings after day one with just 5 points. And the only path for them to get into that final race is to win both of these races and get a little help. Right now, they lead here on leg 3.
And they're up and foiling there. Crucial moment for Slingsby. The magic number to get on the foils is 30 kilometers an hour. If you can get to 30 kilometers an hour, you can hope to fly. And we can see here, look at that wind. The wind's very, very similar on the boats, and the speeds are very, very similar. This is tight. Sarafagis doing a good job. There you go, easy on the press. Carl Langford talking to Tom Slingsby there. Look, 2 different modes of sailing here. Sailing a faster, longer distance for Slingsby, and the boats above there, Jimmy Spithill holds in the water, Fred.
So I'm already looking at what this, as it stands right now, what this would do to the overall leaderboard for this event. As it stands, the USA and Japan would book their place in the final race, the final 3 shootout. Spanish would still be in 3rd, but if it finishes like it is now, New Zealand would only be 2 points behind the Spanish going into race 5. So as I said, the USA and Japan would qualify, and that 3rd spot would still be wide open.
Tight cross coming up here. The Kiwi's going to surely look to take the wind of the Australians. There you go, tack from Sarafagis. He's new to the SailGP circuit, but great move from Switzerland, GC32, world champion. But what I think most important here, Todd, he's a real light wind specialist. This is old school cat sailing here. Hulls in the water, you've got to adapt to the situation. The wind wash he put onto Australia there, slow him down, and it's Jimmy Spithill charging in. We saw that a lot yesterday. Has he made the right call here?
So Spithill drops in, currently sitting in 3rd place, but he is ahead of the Australians as Australia and New Zealand battle for that rare win that we're finding out here as to Ali's report. Breeze dropping off just before the start of race number 4. Remember, race 5 still to come, but they've got to negotiate this right now. It is a 3-boat shootout with New Zealand, the USA, and Australia.
Nice move there by Sarafagis. He stayed clear, kept it clean, and he's got himself back up on the foil there. Bit of wing wash going onto Spithill. He'll hate that. And Slingsby, well, he's decided to try and find wind on the other side of the course. Great opportunity at these gates for the teams to be tactical. They've got a chance to spot more wind, and here we go, Sarafagis flying.
It's not lost on me that Sarafagis, the Swiss helmsman on board the Kiwi boat, grew up sailing on the Swiss lakes where it's shifty and patchy and you really have to dial into the mode changes for what breeze you have at that moment. Maybe that's why he's showing the fleet a clean set of heels.
Coming upwind, they set up, just got to watch them. Coming down.
Great comms, that's Tom Slingsby talking there. Here we go, we're going to come back here on board with Jimmy Spithill as the Kiwi crew sail over the top. The wind is coming from the right-hand screen, the top of the screen there. As soon as we see the Kiwis get in front of them, they're disturbing the wind. They're giving them dirty wind, we call it in sailing. Basically, it's like choking the fuel pipe on that American boat, slowing them down as we head downwind. And we see the French and the Spanish at the back of the fleet. They're nearly a leg behind, Fred. These light winds, you can just lose so much so quickly.
Well, the French lost off the start, didn't they? They got shut out at the start, and that is race over if you're going to start like that. A big pressure start for the French, and they got it so wrong.
And they were sitting 4th overall with 13 points coming into this, so an 8th is an absolute disaster for them. But that's how it stands. Spain not much better, currently sitting in 7th place. They were in 3rd in a podium position for the time being, but now Australia doing exactly what they need to do. They were in last. They need to win 2 races to have any shot of getting to the final. It is still New Zealand, USA, and Japan right now, your top 3.
And that's the head-to-head, New Zealand versus USA, 1 versus 2. The key difference is there, the race fly time at the bottom. The Kiwis have flown 50% of this race. The Americans have only flown 40%, and that's the difference we're seeing on the water.
Look at that in the background, Nathan Outridge in Japan. He's sniffing back into this race, renowned in the light winds for finding the wind, and he's not going away anywhere. Looks like all the boats will take a right turn at the bottom here, trying to set up JK we heard there. Get ready for a quick manoeuvre around the mark here. Sarafagis, there's so much communication required on these boats because everyone's having to work really hard together. Spittle follows him around, and it's Australia. He didn't quite make the mark. An extra manoeuvre for Slingsby, sorry there. That's going to be costly. Could give Outridge a chance to move past him in the race. You see the Australian boat trying to get back on the foils. It's so costly when you fall off the foils in this wind.
So everyone heading to the top of the course, that left side, trying to forward more breeze. Tom Slingsby rolls the dice. We'll see if it comes up. And there's the JK coming from Nathan Outridge in Japan Sail GP. So now you've got 4 races battling for that top position here in race number 4, with race 5 still to come.
And going into race 5, I'm looking at the overall leaderboard and what this means. As it stands in this race, if they finish as they are, the USA and the Japanese would qualify for the final 3 shootout. As it stands going into the final race, New Zealand and Spain would be tied on 19 points, with the Brits just 5 points behind on 14.
What do you want to do with the tack?
Sarafagis talking to his tactician there. He's using Andrew Maloney and Josh Jr., Finn world champions, as tacticians. Okay, so Sarafagis, he's really only focused in on America here, and Jimmy Spittle, and he's in a textbook position to cover him.
And this is a key position for the Australians. If they do not take one more place up the leaderboard, it will rule out their chances of getting into the final 3.
Look at that, he's just not found any wind there, Todd. You can see Tom Slingsby looks tense to me.
We're going to have to go early here. We've got no choice. Okay, stand by it.
Slingsby's frustration there as the defending series champions, and Italy has not been good to them. They had troubles all day yesterday. Remember, they finished in last with a did not finish, and then a 6th, and then another 8th.
Well, we're within the last 2 or 3 minutes here. There's 1 tack left for all the crews except the Kiwis. The Kiwis have got 2 more to do, but now they set up, they head to gate 5, we see at the top of the screen, and it's the short reach to the finish. Slingsby, he's running out of time here in Taranto. This is getting hard for him, but Sarafagis, wow, the New Zealand team have yet to win a race in SailGP. Could Arno Sarafagis, Jason Saunders, Andy Maloney be the guys to make that happen on board? Great work for this crew. They're happy, 1 and in, just 1 more tack for the Kiwis.
Can you imagine Blair Tuke and Pete Burling sitting at home watching this, shouting at their tellies and cheering their boys home?
They are preparing for the Olympic Games in Tokyo coming up, so Arno Sarafagis gets the call. GC32 world champion, foiling boat expert, doing a great job here, the first race on Sunday.
I've got to reiterate here for the Australians, they need to leapfrog the Japanese to keep their hopes alive of getting into the final 3, as they just drop behind the Danish and the British.
So truly an elimination race here in race number 4, with 5 still to come, and then the 3-boat shootout to cap off the Italian Sail Grand Prix.
That yellow line we saw on the screens, the ley line, we're back on board the USA here. Look at that tack. Are they going to stay on the foil? Look at that, they're skimming. No, they're up, they're up, they're up. They're stayed up. Beautiful foiling tack in such light winds. There's definitely more wind on this left-hand side, the top of the screen as we see it. There seems to be more wind on that side of the course. Slingsby lost out a lot. Spittle, perfect foiling tack from his crew. And at gate 5, with just the high-speed blast to the finish, well, let's hand it over to Arno Sarafagis to bring home New Zealand's first race win in SailGP.
And we talked about it from the get-go. The start's so key, not having a penalty to get things going, and Sarafagis put himself in a great spot, and he stuffed the French off the corner. They were unable to get into that small gap, and now they sit in 8th, and the Kiwis are sailing to their first win of the season here in SailGP. Congratulations to Arno Sarafagis and the crew of New Zealand SailGP, as they will take the win in race number 4 and picking up all 8 points. So now we're going to put Freddie Carr to work with his abacus to start doing the math, because as New Zealand comes in and claims that 8 points, it looks like the USA will probably grab 2nd. Japan looks to be holding on for 3rd. And where is Australia?
It's a great performance for Jimmy Spittle looking ahead in the day. I always think these days, when you come into the day in a good position, you're sort of looking good for the final. It's easy to just try and coast to the final, but I think a really key word in sport is momentum, and I think momentum is key looking ahead to this final for Spittle.
For sure, the Americans have booked their spot in the final, and I also think if Nathan Outridge comes in third as he is here, he's going to book his place in the final as well. As it stands, I believe that the Spanish and the Kiwis will be tied on 19, and then 5 points behind those, we have a three-way tie, Denmark, GBR and France, but we've got to get the overall results across the line here to confirm that.
So Japan holds on for third. Nathan Outridge and Japan SailGP, the runners-up in last year's series, look to be on their way to the podium race today. And the Danes with a great performance here, maybe their best showing thus far, finishing just off the podium in fourth.
Nice from Serhestedt, and he's given himself a chance going into race 5, as long as our friend Freddie Carr is right with his computer, but he looks pretty confident to me at the moment, so I think we're right there. Tom Slingsby, 5th place for the Australian crew. Well, it's been a very, very tough week, sailing for pride in this last race. Don't be at all surprised to see him coming out swinging. Paul Goodison, 6th place. I think that'll keep his hopes alive, but it's not really enough at this stage for the British crew. Frustration on me at the moment from them.
Paul Goodison filling in for Sir Ben Ainsley as Spain comes in to take 7th. And they really needed a better performance. They were sitting in 3rd overall coming into this 4th race with 17 points, 4 points clear of France, and it'll be France taking the final spot in 8th, only picking up 1 point, which will drop them back to 14 points, and a big loss on the day on race number 4.
What a really great performance. And yeah, I think, you know, this won't be what the Spanish want, but it's what we want, Todd, because that's set us up for a thrilling race 5 here in Taranto, and Freddie's got a bit of an update.
Yeah, I think tied in 5th, there's Denmark, GBR and France on 14 points, so their mentality going into race 5, they've got to go for the win to stand any chance. Then we've got a shootout between New Zealand and Spain, tied on 19 points, and you can forget about the USA and Japan in terms of their finals booking position, as they're already there, but anyone from 3rd to 7th can make that final spot.
And for poor France, it did not get much better. The start was a near disaster for them. They will come into 8th place. That was a race they needed maximum points, currently sitting in 4th place overall. But after this performance, they only pick up 1 point.
Tough day, but I think that could be the story of the day, Todd. Starting. If you can give yourself that advantage off the line, you just make your life so much easier for you. And Sarafagis, well, did a great job.
No question about it. The Kiwis lead the way on race number 4. Arno Sarafagis and New Zealand get the win, just ahead of Jimmy Spithill in the USA. Nathan Outridge salvages 3rd place ahead of Denmark, Australia. Tough day for Tom Slingsby, tough weekend for Tom Slingsby here in Italy. Great Britain, Spain, and Billy Basson, definitely the biggest disappointment for him, coming from right off the start, being stuffed into the corner by New Zealand. SailGP race number 4 is complete. Race number 5 queuing up. We'll have that here in Toronto in a matter of moments.
It doesn't matter where you live. You can live on the coast, you can live in the middle of a continent. But your life is absolutely dependent on the work of other species. The problem is that we have been abusing our natural world so much that nature cannot keep up with us. We are destroying our only home. We are unplugging our life support system for short-term gain. But the world is moving, and there is huge momentum. There is no going back.
We have a real opportunity to change attitudes and to help actually to create solutions. We really felt that there was an opportunity to help promote the acceleration to clean energy and champion a cleaner world powered by nature.
At SailGP, we're climate positive, which means you have more impact on the world than your footprint. We race for the future for our kids, for our families, for the cities we all live in and race at, and for our oceans.
I have hope because I have seen the ability of the ocean to recover, to bounce back, if we just give it space. The sailing community have a huge role to play because sports have the ability to reach more people than anything else on the planet. We all depend on each other's behavior. There is no me alone anymore. The best way for people to understand what we're doing to the planet is to see it. And the best way for people to act is to fall in love again with nature. So sailors, please take as many people as possible into the ocean. Take people with you. That's one of the longest term contributions that you can make.
So Inspire, our youth program that sits underneath the F50, is such a good program. Today and here this weekend in Taranto, we've taken the best young male and female sailors from around the south of Italy, and they've been racing the Wasps, the small foiling dinghy, a great way to get into foiling sailing. They had racing yesterday, and the people that stood out for me were the Caputo sisters. It's the first time they've been foiling, and I loved their statements that they want to be the first female skippers of the America's Cup syndicate, Luna Rossa, and that's what Inspire is all about. We're also giving 10,000 children around the world their first taste of sailing. What a fantastic program.
Coming down here, spot, yeah, come in. Minutes. Okay.
Yeah. Arno, glad to have you with us here at SailGP. Just want to ask you, how similar are these conditions to what you're used to in Lake Geneva?
It's very similar to Geneva, but I'm gonna have to leave you for now.
All right, thank you very much. That's Arno Sarafagis, who got the victory for the Kiwis as they pick up the win and keep their hopes alive of getting into that final race of the day, where only 3 boats will compete for top honors here at the Italy Sail Grand Prix.
Dropping the board now.
Sarafagis wasn't massing around there, Todd, was he? He was giving you absolutely no chat, and that's probably because there's only 1 minute and 10 seconds to go to this critical race 5.
I think what'll be so interesting to see here, Phil Robertson, 2-time world match race champion, and if I had any fault for Phil Robertson, he's been over-aggressive at times, and it would be very easy to try and get a bit over-aggressive and not let things happen well.
And does he go after the Kiwis? He's got to beat the Kiwis to try and get into 3rd place, and let's not forget the Danish, the British and the French, who pretty much have to win this race to get into the final 3.
So 40 seconds to go before the start of race number 5, and then just 3 boats will emerge to race in the final race of the day. The Americans and the Japanese have already punched their ticket in there. Now the battle is on for Spain, France, New Zealand, and Great Britain, and even Denmark to get in there, as Australia has been eliminated from contention.
22 seconds to go till the start. Outeridge and Spain here, they're really close to the start line. Sarafagis looks like he could have a gap to dive through in the middle at 14 seconds, but who can get on the foil? Robertson needs to find some space. Sarafagis backs away. It looks like Outeridge has control of the start line here with 5 seconds to go. We're turning. Can Robertson fit in at the top end of the line here, or will he be shut out by Outeridge? Oh my word, at the top of the line, breaking the line first there. It's the USA, but they're over the line early. They must drop it. Robertson, Outeridge has taken him out of the start line. Oh my word there.
Targets Japan.
Wow. What an aggressive move. Outeridge has shut down Robertson's weekend.
Oh my word, Jimmy Spittle must drop back, but that's not the story. Slingsby boosts away, and it's Denmark at the bottom of the screen. Where can they get themselves at mark number 1? Remember, they need a top finish to make this final race as well, Freddie.
Oh, the Japanese were already in the final, and they shut the Spanish team out. That is the most aggressive thing I've seen.
If you were going to go to a final, would you rather Sarafagis or Phil Robertson in there with you, Freddie?
I wouldn't fancy either of them. They both duff me up.
So the USA penalized as well, crossing the line too early. It's Australian Tom Slingsby with by far his best start, best performance so far here at the Italy Sail Grand Prix. But they've already been eliminated. They cannot move on to the third and final race.
Nice rounding there by Sarafagis. He kept that very calm and simple, nothing too risky. Nice move there. Slingsby, he boosts away. Denmark, well, it won't be enough if Sarafagis can stay there. But we're now setting up for this bottom gate. Try and keep it simple if you're on board the Kiwi boat. Sailing fast, sailing smooth as we move off down the short downwind leg. Here we go, on board Australia, as we see Slingsby up on the foils. He timed this start beautifully on board the Australian boat, coming in over the top of Goodison. Sarafagis to the left of picture there, but it was perfect. Look how easy it is when you get it right on board there. But at the top of the screen, shutting the door, was Nathan Outridge. Oof. Tight move for Slingsby, so close. I think Slingsby's great at this reactive type of starting.
Full traffic jam as they came off the line. The Americans a little too early. They had a penalty. Not a big loss for them because they are already into the final race. Now it's Australia racing for pride as they come up on gate number 2. And then it's Denmark, New Zealand, and Japan.
Nice round in there by Slingsby, and it's going to be interesting. The Danish, they choose to head towards that favoured side of the course, Freddie. There looks like good wind. It's darker water up by the Spanish and the French boats, and that's where Sehested has set. What a time to find your form if you're Nikolai Sehested.
Yeah, we talked about they needed a momentum-shifting result, and this momentum-shifting result, if they stay in second or move to first and the Kiwis fall further down the ladder, could see them go into the top 3.
Pretty interesting for me here, Todd. Sarafagis has chosen to follow Denmark. He knows the Spanish are too far behind now, surely to affect him. So he's keeping it tight to Denmark, making sure there's no big number of boats between the two of them. And this could be the Kiwi boat, led by Sarafagis, making it to the final. We'll get this boat back on the 30 kilometres an hour is the magic number. And the boat lifting out of the water there. Look at it, struggling to get up in the air. Not quite foiling.
So an update on what the overall leaderboard would look like if the results stood as they are. We'd have the Kiwis qualifying in 3rd place on 25 points. The Danish would finish 4th in 21 and the Spanish on 20 in 5th. But those 3 positions could switch on this light and shifty race course.
On board with Sehested there, talking to us. He's trying to look for the other boats around him. It's tight. What I want to know is where has Nathan Outridge come from? The last time I saw him, he was shutting the door on the Spanish with a penalty. He's now showing up on the leaderboard in 1st place, sailing towards the favoured side of the course. What's that guy done there?
He's fast in the light. He's fast in the light. It doesn't matter where he is in amongst the fleet. He just has the ability to move forward.
This is the umpire's penalty New Zealand relative GBR. Penalty New Zealand relative GBR.
So the Kiwis are going to have to drop back behind Great Britain, and that is going to be a huge, costly mistake.
Well, there's 1 point back for the Danish against the Kiwis as the Danish move up into 3rd. This scoreboard is very dynamic. Could that be the thing that leapfrogs the Danes above the Kiwis?
We heard umpire Craig Mitchell there. That was a port and starboard incident. The Kiwis clearly thought they could cross in front of the British, misjudged it. But umpire Craig Mitchell, wow, he is not going to be a popular man in New Zealand right now. We didn't see how close it was, but he's still got the penalty. This distance he has to drop will be growing all the time. There's the blue line. He needs to get back behind that blue line.
That's a long way back. That's a long way back for the Kiwis to get behind the Brits. They're going to lose 2 boats here.
This is the umpire's 2nd penalty onto New Zealand. Not doing it quick enough. Still relative GBR. Still
Booking a
relative
holiday in
GBR.
New Zealand if I were Craig Mitchell right now. And at gate number 3, Tom Slingsby, he knows how to lead a race, doesn't he? He's around gate 3, up on the foils. Outridge, I have no idea where he's come from. No doubt some good wind shifts, but more importantly, good boat speed. And going into this final for Nathan Outridge, surely seeing Jimmy Spittle in last place is just the kind of caveat he needs to boost him in. Sehested still doing a great job, but now being chased down by Great Britain. And Paul Goodison, I think this mathematics is about to get a bit harder, mate, because I can see the Spanish coming into shot as well, as Denmark round in third and Sehested looking for opportunity.
So leg 4 of 6, they'll go down, come back, and then it's the blast to the finish line. Japan goes back into the lead, just barely ahead of Australia, but keep your eye on Denmark. Remember, Australia's been eliminated. Japan's already in the final, so it's going to be a battle between Denmark, Great Britain, France, and New Zealand. Spain on their way up, and the USA out the back, currently sitting in eighth. They don't need the points. They're already into the final as well.
Round the outside for Robertson and Spain. I'm happy to put my neck on the line, and at the moment that will be Phil Robertson finding his way somehow into the final with an amazing comeback at this stage, but he has split the course with the Danish. Has he found wind? And he needs to keep that Kiwi boat behind him, Freddie.
Big news with that last Mar Grande. The Spanish have recovered into 6th place, the Kiwis in 7th. That would put the Spanish in the final on 23 and the Kiwis on 21. The Danish is still hanging in there in 20. We've got 1 lap to go and it is all on.
Breaking news from Freddie Carr as the points continue to change. Remember, the Americans are already into the final, so are the Japanese. Australia out in front, they cannot move on, so keep your eye in the middle, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Here we are, we're on board at the gate number 3 here, and we see the Kiwis, a last-minute tack, 2 holes in the water. Spain, Phil Robertson, Florian Trittel, Diego Botin coming round the outside, and could that be the moment that sees them make the final? Well, Outridge and Slingsby split the gate at gate number 4. The final chance now on this upwind leg. Sehested, brilliant to see the Danish crew improving through the day, but it's tight with Robertson. He looks like he's maybe lost some more places.
So the Danish here have got to overtake and get into first or second in this race. It looks unlikely the distance they are behind. Therefore, the battle is between Spain and New Zealand for the final spot.
Nice attack by the Danes there. Oh, bow just went down a bit there, Todd. That's just the balance of the new foil and the rudders swapping over. The timing not perfect. Bow dropped in, that's no good. Tight at the bottom gate here. Here comes Paul Goodison, rounding up the Spanish boat. Phil Robertson in 5th. Besson charging back to 6th, but at the moment it's good for Phil Robertson. We're on with Phil.
So the New Zealanders need to overtake a boat to put the pressure on the Spanish, or hope the Spanish drop a place. They were so far behind the Spanish off the line.
We just heard there, Freddie, Phil Robertson, New Zealand tack, we tack. He's only focused on Arno Sarafagis and the New Zealand crew. He's no idiot. He knows where the points lie at the moment.
Oh man, how costly is that port starboard for the Kiwis on that first upwind?
It's costly, but look, the Spanish are stuck in the water. The Kiwis are foiling on the screen as we look now. Sarafagis has executed that manoeuvre better. It's not going to be easy. 75 metres would be my guess at the moment, Todd, on that sheet there. And we can see the fly time, it's nearly level, but the boat speed on the Kiwi boat right now, that distance is coming down. When the boats come back together and get close to each other, Sarafagis will be the boat on starboard tack with the right of way.
So quick update here in race number 5 with 1 race to go. It's Japan leading the way. They are already into the final race of the day. Australia has been eliminated because of not enough points. Denmark, Great Britain, France, and Spain and New Zealand are still all battling it out to see who will join Japan and the USA in the final race of the day. And remember, points do not carry over.
So if the Kiwis overtake the Spanish here, they'll be tied on points and it would go to a tie break, and that would be the team that finished ahead. It is a match race between these 2 boats coming together in the middle of the screen. What will Phil Robertson do? Will he face him and tack in his breeze?
Kiwis did a bad tack, well commentated, Phil, I agree. They spun a bit too far. Phil Robertson will find some space, set up to the right as he is.
1, turning.
Look at that boat. Oh, that's my wheel. Florian Trittel takes the wheel out of the tack there, and they were quickly up on the foils. I think that tack was good enough, as somehow Nathan Outridge, maybe we call him Harry Houdini after this one, Todd. He's come from shutting out the Spanish at the start, and he's looking to charge his way to a victory here in race 5.
Well, Phil Robertson may get another shot at Nathan Outteridge after that maneuver, as looks like Japan is going to take the win in race number 5. They don't need the points. They are already into the final. Australia will come through again. As we've mentioned, they have been eliminated from making it into the final. But Nathan Outteridge, again, guys, it's a light breeze situation. Put your money on Outteridge and SailGP Japan. They did a masterful job. It'll be Outteridge winning another race here at the Italian Sail Grand Prix in race number 5.
Great race by Outteridge and his crew there. Some come back, sailing the boat fast. Slingsby nice to see, but the real race, here it is. The Kiwis and the Spanish. Robertson tacks right on his wind. There was an interesting bit of communication between Florian Trittel and Phil Robertson a moment ago, talking about the numbers. They haven't got a Freddie Carr out there on the water with them, so they're having to remember these numbers themselves. Look at Phil, he's looking back, match race world champion 2 times. Florian Trittel, he's trimming that wing so fast.
Could this be the redemption from the Spanish? They were 1 tack away from making the final 3 in Bermuda. They're in that same position on the race course, and they nailed that tack. And that could be the tack that sends them into the shootout.
Look at Billy Besson and France, though. They're coming back into play. Remember, they were sitting in 8th place, and they've made a nice recovery. It looks like New Zealand's going to run out of time as they go through the final gate, and now it's a sprint to the finish between Spain and France.
Billy Besson must keep clear if he passes on the right-hand side of our screen. No, look at that. He lines up behind Phil Robertson. If it's possible to feel relaxed in these boats, will right now be feeling relaxed. He's got a nice straight line into the finish here. Besson's not getting past you from there.
Yeah, Phil's figured it out. He said, I think we probably take that on the overall. And Phil, I think you're right. I think you're going to finish with 23 points. New Zealand 21, Denmark 20, GBR 19.
Each one.
That means a lot to that Spanish crew there. Look at that. Barber on the bow, Nettie, the grinder behind him, super experienced offshore sailor, and Sarah Faggis. How?
What could have been?
Oh, gotta be honest. That port and starboard incident, tight cross. Be interesting to hear back from Craig Mitchell at some point. Sarah Faggis there, he's apologising for the cross. Wow, what a costly cross that has turned out to be.
And I hope it wasn't my late interview with him that caused him to have such distress here in race 5.
Well, I'm going to blame you, Todd, even if he doesn't.
Jimmy Spithill bringing SailGP United States team in, finishing in 8th place. It's all good. They did not need the points. They were already into the final. So you wonder how much of this is recon. Did the Americans go out there and say, okay, let's do a little recon on the course and see what's available as we get ready for the final race?
Not for me. I don't think so, Todd. I talk a lot about momentum in these, and the number of times we've seen boats definitely in the final having an average race before the final means you haven't got your flow. I'd want my flow. I'd want to be winning. I think going into this final, Outteridge has to be the favourite on that Japanese boat.
It'll be, I think 40's the number. Yeah,
So the Americans bring it in as we take a look at the results from race number 5. What a performance once again. Nathan Outteridge, he was all over the course from the start to the finish, and somehow the Wind Whisperer finds a way to get the boat across the line as we take a look at the standings after race number 5 and we get ready for the all-important final race of the day. So Outteridge gets the win, and look at the points, 35. They finish ahead of the USA on 29, and Spain squeaks in with 23, just ahead of New Zealand, and Arno Sarafagis just 2 points back. Denmark gave it a good run, but they will finish in 5th, ahead of Great Britain, France, and poor Tom Slingsby and the defending champions, Australia. They finish in 8th place with just 16 points for the entire Italian Sail Grand Prix. Happy to be joined now by Spain SailGP helmsman Phil Robertson. Phil, I got to ask you, how much math were you doing on those final 2 legs of that race?
Yeah, look, well, we knew we just had to beat the Kiwis, really, and that was the goal. We did everything we could just to get back into it. Japan did a bit of a dirty on us there at the start, and I guess kind of ruined his start, but I guess he didn't want us in this final, so yeah, we're pretty happy just to beat the Kiwis there because, geez, they put on a show today to get back in it. But we're very happy to be in the final, and I guess we haven't started well all week, and if there's one start to start well, it's going to be the next one. So watch out.
You'll have an opportunity for payback here as you get ready for the final race of the day, as you anticipate what's out there, the conditions, and you know you're going up against Japan and the USA. What do you expect here in the final race?
Yeah, look, it's I mean, it's all on, you know. First one across the line is going to win, so we're happy to be here. We're going to push bloody hard on that start and make sure we get a good slingshot off the line, and hopefully they tangle with each other. But our coach did say if there's one team to beat right now, it's the Japan for that little dirty in the last start.
Phil, thanks for your time. Good luck to you guys in the final race. From Spain to the USA, we are now joined by Jimmy Spithill, the CEO and helmsman for United States SailGP. Jimmy, final race, probably not your best performance on there. You might want to go back to the 3, I'm guessing, but you guys did what you had to do. You're into the final race. What do you anticipate here as you look to this final 3 with Japan and Spain? Jimmy, Todd Harris here. I just want to get your take on what you guys expect in the final race against Japan and Spain. Our apologies, technical problems as we are not in connection with Jimmy Spithill, but I imagine he would give us a pretty good answer as we get ready to this final race, Freddie.
Yeah, final race. We know that the Spanish finished 4th in Bermuda. They're now in the final. Could they be topping the overall leaderboard at the end of Taranto?
On an F50 in SailGP, there are 5 key roles on the boat. You've got the helmsman role, which is what I do on the boat. Really, the main thing that the helmsman does on these boats is they make the decisions on where you go on the race course. They communicate to the crew what your plan is. And most of the skippers in the teams, myself included, are heavily involved in the logistics of the event. So moving forward in the boat, the next position is the wing trimmer. And the wing trimmer needs to have a really good understanding of how to generate power and how to distribute the power in the boat.
So it's a lot of fun, you know. I can basically control all of the power in the boat at any one moment. I have to put the wing in the right shape and tell Nathan, communicate to him the best modes for us to sail to get to that goal as quickly as possible.
So moving forward, one more position is the flight controller on our boat. He's responsible for keeping the boat in the air. You know, every time the boat touches the water is a time that the flight controller has made a mistake. He needs to keep the boat flat, keep it locked in, going fast. He has to have a very good relationship with the helmsman and the wing trimmer to make sure that the boat is locked in and going quick. Okay, so at the front of the boat we have 2 grinders positioned there. One grinder faces forwards, one grinder faces backwards. Both of the grinders at the front are turning the handle for the winch to make sure that we can trim the wing sheet as effectively as possible. Leonard Takahashi is our primary #1 grinder. He's facing forwards. Yuki is grinding, he's facing backwards. He's looking at Chris Draper in the eyes. He's making sure he knows what Chris needs in terms of the amount of power. He also has to be very brave because he's going around a race course extremely fast, facing backwards, and so he has to have a lot of trust in the guys behind him. He comes from a rowing background, so he's used to going backwards, but he's going backwards now at 50 knots, so it's a little bit different.
a beautiful day in southern Italy for the crowds that are lining the shore, but tough work for the 5 crews members on board these F50s, and the workload is just about to get a whole lot harder because the winds are patchy and not as strong as forecast, so they're going down to 3 people on board, so 3-man crew for this final race. Yesterday was the first time in history that 3 people were on board as opposed to the normal 5. It certainly took multitasking to a new level, and yesterday we saw that Japan and the United States, they have the best results, so they've got to be the confident boats heading into this winner takes all final race of the weekend. Todd.
It's really left the wind, mate. Yeah, turning up on the breeze all the way. Dropping leeward hull.
Immediately, Phil Robertson is going to be looking for some payback fray, but this has got to be advantage Japan and USA with the 3-man crew.
Well, particularly Japan, they look fast with 5. I think they looked even faster yesterday with 3. We're back in the 3-man configuration. I love this 3-way final. It's absolutely brilliant. Traditionally, it's a 2-boat match race. We're into 3, and that just throws the cat amongst the pigeons.
Well, and look at the lineup we've got here. Jimmy Spithill, known as the Pitbull, 2-time America's Cup winner, match racing guru. Phil Robertson on board the Spanish boat, 2-time world match race champion. They're used to this one-on-one dogfight. And then you've got the silky smooth Outridge, renowned more as a fleet racing background, sailing the shifts, sailing a bit more organically. How's that going to work?
I gave Nathan Outridge my sailor of the day yesterday when he was flying the boat and driving at the same time, taking the wing sheet. They looked slippery, they looked fast. The other person who stood out to me yesterday who could be key in this final is Rome Kirby. He was calling tactics on board the American boat and did a really nice job. But we're looking at the Spanish here. Phil Robertson, match racing world champion. Is he going to go back after Nathan Outridge, after that filthy start that he gave him in the race 5?
Hello.
I've raced Phil Robertson a bit, and I can assure you, give him a chance and he will come and hunt you down. But don't underestimate Trittle and Bottin there, because they are very much young, learning, and they're key people on board that boat.
And with 90 seconds to go, the final race of the day.
Great shot of the start line here. We've got a 3-boat fleet, and that looks quite a long start line. I think that gives all 3 boats to get their own clean start. If they want, they don't really have to engage and can do a perfect time run.
Certainly going to be key. Here we go, 110, time to kill. That's Phil Robertson. Big split. Japan and Spain finding each other already.
Slowly. Boundaries at 60 coming up. Am I on? 40 to burn.
That's Chris Draper there, 40 to burn. That means they're all still very early for this start.
Here they go. They're all going to tack together for their last final run-in with 48 seconds to go. There's the boundary. Don't go over that. All 3 boats are going to spin together. It's the Americans top of the stack. Spain are diving down to the bottom. It looks like the Japanese will line up in the middle.
Certainly looks at the moment like Robertson wants to be off that, what we'd call the bottom end of the line. It will be at the top of our screen. Spithill, I like where he is at the moment. He's got the most space. Space is going to be key, and Outridge looks late at the moment. Has he timed it right? Robertson turns towards the wind, 18 seconds, and he's already on the foils. It's going to be Robertson out of the middle of the line. He's coming in, and Spithill on the foils at 11 seconds. That was Robertson a little early. Spithill, he's straight and true. So is Outridge at the bottom of the line. It's going to be a drag. Robertson looks early to me, 2 seconds. Breaks the line early in the final. Penalty Spain, must drop behind those 2 boats. Great start by Outridge. Great start by the USA.
Penalty Spain. Relative
and they said that I'm going to be early here, but we've got to live with it. The only boat that didn't get a penalty. Oh no, they're all clear, and the Spanish are clear. They drop in behind the Americans.
Fastest angle to Mark 1 is Spithill. He hit that line on the bit of the bang. That's Rome Kirby there, happy to continue straight. Keep it simple, you've got the lead. They're going to be ahead at Mark 1, and he wants to stretch to boundary, try and minimise manoeuvres.
The final race of the day here in Italy. Amazing, guys. You think back at the first event down in Bermuda, none of these 3 boats were in that final race. We've got completely different, and for the USA and Japan, this time in Bermuda, they were both in the dock with damaged boats watching.
Well, there you go. Outridge apologising, not happy with his start there. It's tight, 2nd and 3rd, but a good lead. 7 seconds for Jimmy Spithill at Mark 1, and Outridge won't like Spain trying to push over. Here we are, on board Japan at the start here, trying to find a gap. Outridge is happened to come through. Bit late, he will have known here he was struggling, and he had to get the speed on. Wasn't going to end up with as fast an angle of his like. Coming in, and it was Phil Robertson over that line early on the Spanish boat here. Has to turn up aggressively behind the USA boat, clear his start, and then get back in the race, fast towards the next mark. But it was the Spithill, the Pitbull, great start.
So the current situation right now, leg 2 of 6 in the final race of the day. The Americans have the lead, but here comes Japan and Spain quite a bit ways away. See the wind holding around 16 kilometers an hour.
Yep. Stand by. 5 seconds, probably. Alright. Forward. Yep. Standing up. Here we go.
Rome Kirby multitasking yet again.
See that straight from the handles to the coffee grinder where he controls that main foil. Flight controller eye, that's flying the big foil that we see the boat balancing on there. Not their best work, but they're up on the foils already, and they've got a comfortable lead. Outridge in second. Phil Robertson looked for an opportunity, but it's not worked for him yet.
The Americans are stretching here, so what do you do with your outerage? Are you going to try and get a split on the Americans, or do you cover Phil Robinson and the Spanish and try and bank your second place? This is where the 3-boat finals are really fascinating for me. It's never, never over.
Freddie, if it's me, I'm not looking backwards until this time in elapsed time. Robertson in third, aggressive. You wouldn't expect anything less from Phil Robertson, and in that third place position, what attack. But the Americans at the top of the screen fall off the foils. They've fallen down. Robertson executed the tack well. Look at Botin, straight over on the handles, now down to flight controller, and the Spanish are foiling. That lead will be coming down. Spithill needs to get on the foils soon.
We go back.
A lovely move by the Spanish. They carried their downwind speed into the roundup and used that speed from the roundup to buy one tack on the upwind and stayed on the foil. And that's why we're seeing them rumbling along here with their speeds, the highest in the fleet, 40 kilometers an hour, versus the other boats in the lighter breeze, only in the 30s and the 20s.
And the Americans finally get it up on foil, but look how much they've lost as Spain has gone from third place. It looks like they're about ready to take over the top spot.
I'm not seeing much more pressure here. Building speed for tack.
For attack here there.
Let's talk about the wind speed on the bow here, Stevie. Live wind speed. I've got the Spanish at 14 kilometers an hour, the Japanese and the USA down at 12, so less breeze where those other 2 boats are.
Look at that, they're just up on the foils there, the Spanish boat. They are on starboard tack. If it's close, Spitill's going to need to watch out. This will be tight. It looks to me like Outridge is the big loser at this stage. Is Spithill ahead?
He's much higher above you.
Another close crossing with Spain and Japan. Is this payback time for Phil Robertson?
It's a big loss there for Outridge. He had to do that. But what this tells me at the moment, we're halfway up leg 3. This is pretty much the midway point in the race here, Todd. Any mistakes, and this race is anyone's. So it's a big, big moment here. We're on board with Japan here. He's going to have to dip behind Spain there. Spanish from the right of the screen with the right of way. And Morishima, big workout for him there. We can see on board Spain, Phil Robertson. He'll love that. A little bit of payback, as you said.
So the Americans, once they were down off the foils, have got it back up and running at 33 kilometers an hour, holding on to that first place lead. This is the final race of the day, leg 3 of 6 with United States Sail GP and Jimmy Spithill out in front.
3, 2, 1. Turning.
Really interesting tacking styles there between the Americans and the Japanese. Jimmy Spithill really throwing the boat fast through the tack to keep it on the foil versus Outridge on the Japanese, much more consistent, trying not to lose that crucial speed in the manoeuvre.
Looking like a big loss of distance. It's Campbell James. Can you see the Spanish? No issue, Jimmy Spithill. That's right. It's been a big gain to this side of the course. So we call it the right-hand side of the course, looking upwind. Lovely gain for Spithill and a gain back for Outridge.
And that's all wind. There's more breeze on the right-hand side of that course. We said it at the bottom, and that rang true at the top.
Here comes Nathan Outridge as they go through gate number 3. This will put them on to leg 4 of 6. It looks like it's going to be a battle between the USA and Japan coming down here in Spain. Looks like they just fell into a pocket, just a hole of no wind, and I thought they were going to move into first place, not doing.
It's interesting, there's noticeably more spectator boats, big crowds out here on the water watching SailGP today, Todd. And those spectator boats potentially blocking the breeze. Here's Spain. They've come back to the side of the course where there was more wind. Could be a chance for Phil Robertson to get himself back in the race. Showing a second at the moment. This is tight.
Fascinating stat come up there in the bottom corner. Look at their average speed, the middle number of the USA, 57 kilometers an hour. That is 6 kilometers an hour faster than the other two boats. It's pretty simple, isn't it, lads? You sail the boat a little bit faster, you're probably going to get out ahead.
Beauty of this racing as well, Freddie. We are powered by nature. We're driven by the wind. If you find more wind, you get rewarded for it. If you use nature better, you get rewarded for it. And that's what we're seeing here with Jimmy Spittle and his American crew. They've done a nice job. Outridge just can't quite bridge the gap back to him. That lead now, look at those ladder lines. Nearly 200 metres for Spittle. And Spain have fallen off the foils at the bottom of the screen here. That could be race over for Spain. Robertson's going to need some in magic from here. Oh, that is annoying, Phil, I agree.
We just lost hydro pressure there, FYI.
Go on, Botin. He's working hard on those handles. That's a hydro pressure drop. Bad time for that to happen. A slight technical or a wrong button, who knows?
So try and go easy on everything here.
That's interesting. They lost hydraulic pressure, Phil was saying in that jibe. He's talking about going easy on everything. You have a hydraulic accumulator, a hydraulic bomb on board the boat, and it only gives you a certain amount of board or rudder or wing movements, and they spent too much oil early in the manoeuvre and they couldn't save it later.
We can see this board here still up in the air in front of us in the middle of the screen. That should have gone down, but here we go. Jimmy Spittle, gate 4. What's the move? Last time at gate 4 here, just one upwind leg left. Oh, that looks bad to me. Bang! Crash down to the water. Oh, Jimmy. Bit of industrial language. I think we can understand with the situation there, a bit of tension on Jimmy. Look at that white water there. That's the boat falling out the water. This is Outridge's chance. Surely you tack on the mark, Nathan. Silky smooth from Nathan Outridge. This is it. The next 2 minutes will define the Taranto SailGP Grand Prix here, because if Nathan Outridge can find more wind, get the boat on the foils, he'll be ahead.
And we know that the right-hand side of that course is better, and that's where the Japanese are going. The Japanese currently have 14 kilometers an hour of wind speed on their bow. The Americans only have 11.
Oh, they are stopped. Jimmy Spittle stopped, and how's Phil Robertson going to get round him? Surely they're not all giving it. He looks like he's broken down, Todd.
Both holes in the water, and the Americans are going nowhere fast as Spain makes the pass. So for the Americans, it's from first to third.
Oh, wow. What a moment in the race here. Nathan Outridge, silky smooth round that bottom mark on the foils. Spain still not back on the foils and floundering at the back. Broken down, it looks like to me. Jimmy Spittle and his US crew. Oh, that's got to hurt, Fred.
And that's got to hurt. That's got to hurt so much. You got to feel for them. They started so well, dominated the race. One bad tack in light airs. Sounded like they're having a lot of technical chat about what mode to sail the boat in. Anyway, that's all irrelevant. They're back in third.
Here we go.
Here we go, we're back for a replay. Look at that, he flies out round the mark. The load on the boat just flies too high round the mark, overloads the rudder system. Something's gone wrong on board. Then look at the boat leap out the water. That's the problem, no designated flight controller. Rome Kirby was having to do the handles round that mark, Fred.
We've just heard from Ali Vansar on the water reporter. She said they might have hit something. There was some communication about hitting something. We'll get that clarified after the race.
Here we go, let's get back
broken rudder. We're hearing they've got a broken rudder on board the American boat.
They flew very high, Fred. I hope we'll find out anyway after the race. Let's get back to the action on the screen. Well, here we go. We've got Nathan Outridge stretching out. We're just 2 minutes here from the end of this race. One good tack for the Japanese crew, and it could be redemption from Bermuda. Outridge had the crash with the US team in Bermuda, and Outridge is potentially now back in the game.
With Japan out in front, Spain in second, the Americans are dead in the water. We're lucky now to go on board with Jimmy Spithill. Jimmy, can you tell us exactly what's happened?
All right.
Yeah, unfortunately we had a massive impact with something under the water. Snapped the rudder off, starboard rudder.
Jimmy, that's got to be difficult. So frustrating with you guys leading. You were running so well. Meanwhile, Japan and Spain out in front. You pleased with what the boys were able to do with short changes down to three-man crew for this last race?
Yeah, I mean, we're really executing a perfect race. Built a nice lead. And yeah, all we had to do was sort of get around the mark and head back up to the finish. So, yeah, pretty disappointing, but look, we can't control that. That's, yeah, pretty unfortunate.
All right, Jimmy, thanks for your time. Get home safe. We'll see you guys in Plymouth. Meanwhile, as they approach gate number 5, it is Japan and Nathan Outteridge just sailing a near perfect race here, guys.
Fastest boat of the weekend, fastest boat with 3, fastest boat with 5. Look at them go. Really well sailed in this light breeze.
I tell you what, when we were talking to Jimmy Spittle there, Nathan Outteridge's heart would have been in his mouth because that lead was coming down. Oh yeah, guys, nice work.
Not yet. Wait till we're here.
I think maybe Morishima was suggesting he was going to open the champagne. A little bit too early.
So with a light breeze and a 3-man crew, and after being eliminated in Bermuda, it's Japan SailGP that comes back to Italy and gets the big victory. Nathan Outteridge and crew will take the win here in Italy.
1 going forward.
Gotta say, Bill.
Guys, it's an amazing stat. Japan never out of the top 3 all weekend long.
Sailed perfectly. What a bounce back as well by the Spanish in 2nd place. And I think by locking in a 2nd place here and a 4th in Bermuda, we could have a new leader in SailGP Season 2 with Phil Robertson in the Spanish.
Strong performance by Phil Robertson to make it into the final. They finish as the runner-up. They had to battle just to get into this final race.
Phil sailed very well there, really. I mean, he was over that start line, did a good job coming back, but Nathan kept it tight, didn't go away, no mistakes, pressurised him.
And it was really interesting that Phil Robertson said, we're going to be early here, let's just go, drop behind, hung in the race. It didn't look great for them at the halfway point, but the talking point has got to be the American rudder.
With the lead, the U.S. with just 2 legs to go in the race. As we heard from Jimmy Spithill on board Team USA, they hit something in the water and they break a rudder.
Well, I tell you what, look at that crew there. I think we often can underestimate the importance. Chris Draper, the wing trimmer there, Olympic medalist, several world championships, so reassuring. And Morishima, what a powerful man at the front of the boat. And that crew did so well.
Celebration continues on board Japan SailGP. Nathan Outteridge and crew get the win in Italy at the Sail Grand Prix 2nd event. So the final results, Nathan Outteridge gets the victory. Spain finishes in 2nd and Spithill finishes in 3rd after that break of the rudder. Unfortunate with them with the lead. New Zealand, Denmark, Great Britain, France, and Australia rounding out. But once again, Japan getting it done. Nathan Outteridge and company doing a masterful job. Phil Robertson finishing just behind in 2nd place. Happy to be joined now by Phil Robertson on board Spain SailGP. Phil, it wasn't your day today, but you guys made it into the final. You gave it a good run. What were the conditions like out there and when you saw the USA come to a dead stop?
Oh, look, it's in a race like this, you know, with 3 up, there's plenty of opportunities. People are going to make mistakes. And when you were patient after that start, it wasn't our best. There'll be opportunities, and we saw a couple. Unfortunately, we were set up quite nicely in that last downwind and had a hydro pressure issue and just couldn't get our board on the lock. So a little disappointing, but look, it was ugly, but 2nd place is great for our team and we're stoked.
Hey, Phil, got to give you some great news, though, just coming across the table. You and Spain are now leading the series. You go into 1st place overall after your performance here in Italy.
Well, that's good news, but look, it's going really well. We're progressing, very fast and learning well, but yeah, that was a pretty ugly day, to be honest, so it's a bit of mixed emotions.
Phil, thank you for your time. We will see you in Plymouth. Well, what a performance once again. Spain now moves into the top spot, but Japan certainly the class of the field today, Stevie.
It was an incredible race. It was quite light winds today out on the water, but no lack of drama. Crews forced to change to 3 boats. 3 sailors on the boat, very much last minute here, and we see Spittle. Jimmy Spittle and the US crew timed it well. It was Phil Robertson a bit early. He decided, I'm going to be happy to be early. I'll take my penalty. I'll take the medicine later. Jimmy Spittle, he's at the closer end of the line to us here. That gives him a faster angle into Mark 1. And by gate 4, he'd looked to have the race in the bag. Japan didn't go away, but this final roundup here, we see them turn up into the wind. The boat suddenly lets go. Look at Jimmy's eyes. He sees something's gone wrong there. His eyes are facing backwards. The boat leaps out the water. He's now told us that they feel they hit something and broke the rudder, which is a huge incident there. But you see the hole they've cut in the water. The American boat slowing down, and Outridge, he saw a chance, spun the round-up tack. It's known as a JK to the sailors out there, and he executed it perfectly, over 30 kilometers an hour, up on the foil, but disastrous for the US crew and Jimmy Spittle. It was so sad to see. A perfect start. He'd pretty much sailed the perfect race, and at this turn up here, it was all to come to a bit of an end. He rounds up, the boat looks perfectly balanced. Whoa, look, the back left-hand corner of the boat just sinks down, flies up in the air, they lose control, and that was the Taranto Grand Prix over for Jimmy Spittle.
Okay, let's have a look at the numbers of that final race. Let's have a look at the analysis and really see where the race was won and lost. Here's the summary. Across the top, average speed, distance, that's a measure of your tactics, flight time, and the amount of maneuvers they did. It seems pretty simple. The average speed for the Japanese was the highest. Ignore the American average speed, they obviously stopped. But they were going fast all weekend, and you can see it there with an average speed of 46 kilometers an hour. Let's see how they got there. It's all about the foiling efficiency. Their fly time was 5% better than the Spanish, and they were flying the boat a little bit higher out of the water. The foil stability is a true measure of the pilot's ability to sail to target. The closer that is to 100%, the better the pilot has performed. And we know that that was Nathan Outridge. So kudos to Nathan. He flew the boat the best, and he won the weekend.
Overhead shot of Japan SailGP. They were the runners-up last year, and they are looking for much more in 2021. Congratulations to Nathan Outridge, Chris Draper. They got it all done today, and I just can't say enough how consistency certainly paid off, Nathan, for you guys. You were never out of the top 3 positions all weekend long, and when it counted the most, you come up big on that final race. Take us through that moment when you were coming downwind and you saw the Americans buried away and looked to be dead in the water, or were you even aware of what happened to them?
Oh, we saw them wipe out at the bottom mark, and you know, as you can imagine, with 3 people on board, you don't have much time to look at the competition, but when they wiped out, it was a really easy decision to tack straight away, and that effectively won us the race. So it wasn't really our perfect race this weekend, but sometimes you get lucky and you got to take it, and we'll thank Jimmy Spittle for that one.
How difficult was it for you guys on race number 4 to go off of that 5-man crew and then dropping down for the final race to just 3? Was that a big adjustment for you, or were you guys prepared for that?
Well, luckily we were sailing with 3 yesterday, so that was a good start. But, you know, because there's different weight categories, we actually have lead on board when we start with 5 because our crew weight's pretty light. So we had to scramble to get the lead off. We had to remember what we were doing yesterday. And you might have noticed some of our manoeuvres in that race weren't as good as they were yesterday because we didn't do any training for 3 up today. So quite a big surprise to us, but Chris and Tim did a fantastic job, and as you can see, the whole crew here behind me did an awesome job, and you know, really happy with how we went in Taranto.
We'll get you to the celebration momentarily. You guys had not your best performance and outing in Bermuda, obviously, but you come back here with a strong. You now move up to 3rd place overall on the series. What are your plans, and what do you expect from Plymouth in just about a month's time?
We're obviously very happy to move up the leaderboard, and you know, for us it's a new team we're building together, so we'd love to keep it in these top 3 races. The top 3 races are a lot of fun for us, and I just want to make a huge thank you to the whole tech team for repairing our boat and the American boat. You know, clearly we had a lot to prove after Bermuda getting a good result, and you know, Jimmy and the boys sailed well all week as well, so we're very happy to be in the top 3, and hopefully we're in the top 3 in Plymouth, and and charging there with a bit more breeze.
As you look back at this weekend, Nathan, can you give us a summary of what do you think the difference was for you guys? Was it the going to the 3? Was it being prepared to sail with 3? Or was it just being able to find some speed in that very light wind?
It was a lot about the light wind finesse sailing. Whether you got 3, 4 or 5, it doesn't matter. It's about how you harness the power of these boats, and if you can do that and you can keep your manoeuvres slick, you do really well. So a lot of light wind training here. We got an extra couple of days, and massive thanks to Russell for letting us get a couple of extra days training. It really made a huge difference for our team. So hopefully we can get to Plymouth, get some more training in, and hopefully we're just as quick when it's windy in the future.
I think the bar is open on Japan SailGP. Nathan, thanks for your time. Go get yourself a beverage.
Go ahead, thanks guys. See you next time.
And the celebration can now begin in earnest on Japan SailGP as they get the victory here in Italy. Well, fellas, I've never been in that situation before, but Freddie, that's got to be pretty tasty.
That's the best drink you can have all weekend. Congratulations to SailGP. Japan, really pleased to see them mix it up with the way they sailed with the 3 persons on board. Powder the handles, the wing sheet was snapping in and out. That with Nathan's twist grip flying, what's the difference?
Celebration continues in Italy throughout the day. Once again, congratulations as we take a look at the championship standings right now. It is Spain, as we mentioned, 1 point clear of Great Britain, 16-15. Japan sitting in 3rd at 14, with New Zealand moving up to 4th place. France now sits in 5th. Australia in 6th. The United States still trying to dig themselves from that hole that they had in Bermuda. They sit in 7th, 1 point, or tied, I should say, with Denmark. So a great, successful weekend here at the Italian Sail Grand Prix. Well, guys, we saw a little bit of everything. We saw very warm temperatures. We saw light wind. We saw moderate wind. Stevie, your final thoughts?
I just think the racing here has been great. The multitasking of the different crew members have been incredible. And I just think sport is incredible. The redemption that you can find yourself from how Nathan would have felt in Bermuda to now, what an experience.
That's the best light air racing I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. That's a line in the sand for light air racing. Brilliant.
Coming up the 17th and 18th of July, it's Great Britain Sail Grand Prix. On behalf of Stevie Morrison and Freddie Carr and Allie Vance down on the water, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from now from the beautiful southern Italian coast.